Holy moly, macaroni. Cheeky lob from Ivan Toney. If he ever did chip our goalie, I know that he would have had a bet with William Hill. We would have made tea for the family. 3 points on the board finally. I can't explain our swinging form for the life of me. Lost game hurt inside of me. Holy moly, macaroni. Cheeky lob from Ivan Toney. If he ever did chip our goalie, I know that he would have had a bet with William Hill. We would have made tea for the family. 3 points on the board finally. I can't explain our swinging form for the life of me. Lost game hurt inside of me. What? Count you a bad bet.
Yo, this is the OT99 Banter Room where opinions are shared and smoke gets served. Look, we're back again with another show. It's your boy Firms and only Firms today. I'm on my lonesome, but you know what? It's a happy day. Ed Weezy, NK, they're busy celebrating, man. They're celebrating the victory. Look, Manchester United, yeah. I can't go too many games without just celebrating a W these days. And I feel like every time Manchester United, you know, goes away from home, we catch the L or we drop points, whether it be a draw. And then at home, we're right back on job. Do you know what I mean? And we bounce back. Look, I'm happy because Manchester United got a W against Brentford. And I'm happy about this game because not only was our performance good, but this is a game that I was worrying about. I mean, Brentford's been flying in the league. You know what I mean? They've been one of those teams that you wanna avoid, like Brentford. You know, your Brightons, those teams you don't want to be playing them. And Manchester United's had 3 tough games. You know, we had our Brentford, we had Brighton, you had Newcastle, tough games. And Manchester United overall, I'd say, you know what, we come up the other side. We got scathed a little bit because obviously the Newcastle one was a setback. The loss was a setback, but Manchester United do what they do in typical fashion, which is bounce back. Don't dwell on a loss for too long. Don't go on a sort of consistent, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6 game losses. Manchester United quite quickly bounce back, you know, and that's what we need to be doing. And if we have any chance of making, you know, top 4 this season, we need to show that mentality to snap back, put that games behind us, the Newcastle one, and push forward. And we did exactly that. We did exactly that against Brentford. Look, Manchester United in that performance, I'll say it was brilliant. It was a I wouldn't say a complete 180, but I would say it was about a 160. I feel like we saw pressing intensity. We saw pressing intensity against Brentford, high line. You know, we saw Delo, you know, tucking in inverted, adding to that attacking threat, you know, overloading the attack with like maybe 5 at times or 6 in attack, pushing forward. And we saw that. Look, we saw Manchester United come out flying. You know, this is what you usually seen from the opposition, but it was Manchester United that was doing this time. You know, the fans are behind us roaring. Look, I can't even count how many corners we got in the first half. It must have been at least 7, 8 or more corners. Luke Shaw was whipping them in from the left, whipping them in for the right. Look, the overload was on. And you know what? I'm kind of upset because I would have hoped that one of those, you know, corners in the first half, set pieces, would have led. I know it did. One of the, you know, we whipped in a nice little, got a goal from a set piece, a bit to sort of headed it down, and then Rashford sort of rifles it into the roof of the net. But in that initial flurry of corners, you know, from the left and the right, I was hoping that we got something out of that. I was thinking, how are we getting this many corners and not getting, you know what I mean, putting one in the back of the net? And you just know if it was us trying to defend those corners and if it was the other way around, we would have conceded a goal. And that just goes to show, I feel like Manchester United, overall, even though it was a great game, I feel like Manchester United really do need to be ruthless, because when we have got our tails up and we are, you know, playing well, we need to be making sure that we're more clinical in the final third. Look, we saw Weghorst get dropped. You know, Weghorst got the, you know, a bit of under a bit of fire from the fans and sort of pundits. He got a bit of stick because he weren't taking his chances, even though he was working hard, even though it was like, you know, putting his blood, soul and tears, you know, for the team. But he weren't, you know, effective in the final third. So we saw him get dropped and we see Rashford go through the center. We saw Bruno occupy his main position as a number 10, Sancho on the left. And we saw Anthony on the right. And to be fair, I was happy with that. It was working really well. We saw Rashford actually posing a threat through the middle. We see him making those runs that trouble defenders and give them something to think about. And we just ain't had that. We just ain't had that in a lot of the games where we've had Weghorst starting through the middle. No offense to Weghorst, but that speed is such a crucial thing in the Premier League. That strength, speed, the athleticism that you need to play in the Premier League, especially with the style that we play in. We need that speed from Rashford. We need those guys that can just burst through the lines, you know, on those runs, because that's what Bruno's looking for. He's looking for those guys on a half turn. He's looking for those guys that is hugging the line, when he gets that ball, as soon as he receives it, is looking for those runners and wants to lay it off. We don't really do that sort of tick-a-tacker Ozil types, Ozil Odegaard type style. Bruno doesn't do that. He likes to get the ball and release it quickly, looking for those runners. And Rashford's the guy that's really, got the speed to be able to do that. Obviously, you got Sancho, you got Anthony. Those are guys that usually like to cut in, and we saw that. Sancho had a better game. He had a better game against Brentford, I would say. Ball retention was great from both Sancho and Anthony. Picking up passes right. Anthony again, he had opportunities where he was taking man on the odd time. But I would say with Anthony again, we're saying the same things about his finishing. The positive is that he kept on trying, getting those opportunities. He kept on trying. Anthony, we've seen it this season. He's capable of scoring a worldie. You know what I mean? When he cuts in on the left and then tries that finesse curler. But there was too many. He had about 4 or 5 opportunities, and it was just going, further away from goal. It was just poor execution. And to think that Anthony, this is how he scored a lot of his goals, even in area of his Dutch league, can't even pronounce it. That's how he scored a lot of his goals. And you would have thought that he would have executed that technique a lot better. If you're going to be doing a similar thing consistently, you would have thought that, you would have been somewhat of an expert in getting and popping a shot off and at least troubling the keeper. Do you know what I mean? We're not saying that every shot like that needs to be going in the net, but you at least need to be troubling the keeper. And it just felt like throughout the course of the game, his attempts just were continuously getting worse and worse and getting further away from the goal. But I would just rate him for effort, and his ball retention, like I said, he's tracking back him and Rashford. Even those are times where Rashford would track back, hench off a guy, win the ball back. Look, we didn't see that against Newcastle with Rashford, And I don't know if it was him being under strict instructions from Erik ten Hag to preserve his energy, because I know that Erik ten Hag is on this whole, he's mentioned it before about, utilizing the energy at the right times, And I just wonder with Rashford, as he's such an explosive player, as he's like our main source of goals, is Erik ten Hag telling him, do you know what? Don't get too stuck in. Don't get involved. We need to preserve you for one, preserve that energy, and also we don't want you getting in unnecessary challenges where you could potentially get injured as you're so vital for the team. Is it that, or is it the fact that Rashford has just been a bit lackluster and maybe just worn out, tired, not really wanting to get involved with the challenges and tracking back and supporting his man? But do you know what? Against Brentford, he did track back at times, and it was you could see it clearly, and he helped out the defense a lot. Obviously Luke Shaw, he got subbed off. I reckon he was doing really well in that first half, man. We all saw it. He was behind all of those corners. Any set type of piece, Shaw was there, progressing the ball forward well. He started really well. And I'm just hoping that, whatever tingling little hamstring injury he got or whatever it is, isn't serious, and that we can see him in the next game, because we got games coming thick and fast. Look, Everton's on Saturday. We're at home, which is a positive and a bonus, but we need to build on this W that we got. We really do need to build on it, because you saw Newcastle look, blitz and West Ham blitz their opponent. It was nothing to them. They were ruthless in front of goal. Man United need to be like that. They just further extended their goal difference against Manchester United, and we really, like, Newcastle's here to stay. They're here to stay. You know what I mean? We all thought they'll be dropping off. We all thought Newcastle will be dropping off. Arsenal will be dropping off on all of these teams. Look, they're right in the thick of it. They're right in the thick of it, consistently moving and consistently collecting points. And it's worrying, And you look at the bottom of just below us, you see Tottenham. And even though we've got a game in hand, I just want to increase that gap, because the gap's still very narrow. What is it? Like, a couple of points, 1 or 2 points ahead of Tottenham. Look, games in hand mean nothing unless you collect those 3 points. And I feel like that game against Everton again is going to be important. It's going to be an important one. I just feel like we just need to keep the momentum up. It's at home. And I feel like, we have got our groove back, hopefully, especially at home anyway, to kick on, and start to extend that gap against these teams. But look, the football that we played was a reminder that Manchester United, there's still a team there. And I really just need to understand, and I really feel like not even me, Erik ten Hag needs to understand what is the issue between Manchester United playing at home and playing away from home. That we saw it even under Oli, where it was the opposite, where Oli away form was great, at home was poor. So it's just like, what is the issue here? What really is the issue? You know what I mean? Like, why is it that we perform decent at home but poor away. You know, people may say it's the fans roaring, cheering us on, and all of these things, and maybe the mentality, the pressure a lot. But Manchester United really need to overcome that. Look, we've had virtually 3/4 of the season now to overcome this issue, and it started like that from day one, man, against Brentford. You know what I mean? It started like that, and we still, when we lost 4-0, and we still ain't rectified that issue. Do you know what I mean? I know there's a team here when we play at home. You can see us playing good football. Away from home, it's an issue. And there's a lot of things that needs to be addressed in the summer if these players can't snap out of it. Do you know what I mean? They really got to snap out of it and show the Manchester United, show the fans that they deserve to be here, because you ain't going to win no titles, win no leagues, if all you can do is have a good home form or good away form, wherever it may be. We need to be collecting points on all fronts. You see how Arsenal's doing it. You see how City's doing it. They're collecting points at all fronts, and we need to be like that. Look, but I just feel like, you know, I have to give a special shout out to Scott McTominay as well, because I feel like Scott McTominay, even though he made that rash challenge in the first half, that was, you know, he didn't touch a man, get me, but I just feel like when you're going in that with that much speed and force, uncontrolled in a way, you're asking for it. You're asking for it. Like, if you collided with a man, that's a potential red card. And I just, for the life of me, I don't understand why these players move like that. The blood rushes to their head and they just forget themselves. I don't care if you feel like you can win the ball or you're going for the ball. We've seen it time and time again. No arguments, no complaints, no sort of reprieval happens when you're going to the ref saying, I got the ball. When you're going with that type of force, you're either going to get a yellow or you're going to get a red card, especially if the studs are showing and you're going double-footed. So we really need to move away from that. But I have to give Scott McTominay his props and his shout out, because in the second half, look, he was putting his body on the line, man. He made some vital clamps, vital interceptions, and he showed us why, you know, he's a good squad player. He showed us why you can call upon him at times, yeah, to get us out of issues, to provide that strength in the midfield. You know what I mean? And that's one of his positives. That's one of Scott McTominay. When he has a good game, you can see it. Do you know what I mean? It stands out. It's just that he doesn't have a good game as often. Do you know what I mean? He will have an odd spell going forward where he does well, or we have an odd few games in a defensive midfielder position where he does well, but he doesn't do it consistently. And that's our issue with the likes of your Freds and Scott McTominay's, and which is why, you know, Scott McTominay is being linked away and we're considering that sell to Newcastle. That's why Fred probably hasn't got his, you know, extension, like his proper contract extension. Maybe it's just got that year trigger. It's because of these things and the inconsistencies. But with Fred, we saw when he came on a pitch himself, it was a positive substitution. He added that still to the midfield, who was getting around as he does, buzzing around, disrupting play, making clamps. And that's what we like to see from Fred. I mean, no, Fred has got it in his locker to score an odd goal. You know, he's scored quite a few this season. We know he's got it in his locker to make a nice final pass as well. But the consistency of it is what we need. Look, Eric Ten Hag is looking for that guy that can feel comfortable, that is press resistant in that midfield, that can collect the ball from the defense if you're number 6 and progress it forward. Or if you're number 8, it wants the ability for you to be able to, again, dictate that play, because if Casemiro's laying off to Eriksen's that guy that dictates the play, the tempo, picks up a pass well. With Fred and with Scott McTominay, they're not dictators of the game. They don't dictate play. They don't dictate the tempo. Do you know what I mean? Their passes are neither here nor there. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. And Manchester United, and I feel like Eric Ten Hag, need consistency in that position. So I feel like that's one of the reasons why Manchester United is exploring a new number 8. That's why we're looking at, you know, those positions. And you know what, Jude Bellingham is in sort of the shop market. And I feel like if we get taken over, especially by the Qataris or whoever, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, we really need to be in that conversation, because Jude Bellingham's one of those people that can, you know, he retains the ball well. He protects it, shadows it with his body well, draws in a foul when needed. He can carry that ball forward like no other defender. And he can also defend pretty well. Do you know what I mean? And he can trap back. You know, his recoveries is really great. And I feel like Man United need that energy in our midfield. Look, I saw how important it is to have that figure in your team. With Chelsea's game against Liverpool, I saw Kante coming back. And Kante, man, you forget how great of a player he was, man. He's been out for so long. And for me personally, I know people may, you know, raise an eyebrow or call me, you know, whatever for saying this, but I feel like Kante is still one of the best midfielders out there. He really is. He really is. And I know people, you know, he's been known as being a, you know, got like the lungs, and he's one of the best DMs out there. You know, in the past, he was one of the best regarded. Some may even still say now. but also he's been regarded as a really good number 8. Like his role was changing from that defensive midfielder into like a box to box type of position. And look, he was better at doing it than anyone, man. You saw what he was doing, breaking up play, progressing that ball forward for Chelsea. Look, Man United, I feel like we missed something. Obviously, like he's been injured, but I feel like we missed something there, not signing him when we could have, because I know he's 32, but he's still got a couple of years in him, man. I still reckon that he would have been a really good signing for Manchester United. And look, let's face it, Jude Bellingham's going to be a hard bargain to make. Everyone wants him. He's going to have the pick of the bunch. So we really need to be making smart and astute signings. You know, we can mix the youth with age. You know, we've always done that. And when you see a quality signing like that, we really got to keep our eyes open and be part and parcel. Look, some of our oldest and aged veterans are the reason why we're doing so well. Casemiro, do you know what I mean? Varane. These are guys, yeah, that are veterans in age, but they're part of all of the good stuff that Manchester United's been doing this season. You know, so I feel like where we weigh up, you know, the longevity in terms of buying players for the future, you know, we also need to be realizing that our team needs a lot of stability, a lot of experience, and players that they can lean on. And you won't always typically get that from youth. Yeah, you've got your leaders like Mbappe and stuff that's out there, but you don't typically get that from your youth, like your Garnachos or anything like that. You get that from the most experienced guys, and sometimes that comes with age. Do you know what I mean? So we really need to explore the balance with that. We really do. Then again, yeah, so like Anthony, he did really well, like I said, pinning back Henry, stopping that attacking threat from those fullbacks coming at Manchester United defence. And I was happy about that as well, because he supported Delo. You know, you're a bit nervy when Delo got bodied by St. Maximin. How's he going to perform? Where's his head at? He did really well. And I feel like Anthony supported him and helped him out well. And like I said, that Bruno pass as well, that Bruno pass to who was it? He done one from deep, man. I can't remember who it was to, man. I know he done one to Fred where Fred missed a chance, but he also did one. I can't remember who was it to Anthony or Sancho, one of them from deep. And I'm just like, this is what Bruno does. Sometimes, you know, it works when he's playing in a deep role. Sometimes it don't. Like Fred with Bruno, you just don't know what you're going to get. But one thing I can say is that playing in a central position, with that freedom that Bruno likes to do is where he needs to be playing, not on the left hand side, not on the right hand side, centrally. Do you know what I mean? And put down foundations and support behind him, you know, to help him play well. Sabitzer, one of his best games for Manchester United. He was allowed that freedom to get forward. He's really good with a 1-2 play as well. And you know what? Without Sabitzer, I don't know where Manchester United would be right about now, because he's coming just like Weghorst and filled in a gap. And we really needed Sabitzer. We really needed him, especially with all the injuries that we've had. And you can see him like growing into the game slowly but surely. I know it's a home game, so it's a bit like skewed in terms of my thought process right now. I really want to see how he impacts the game away from home as well. But you can see like Sabitzer, like elements of the quality that he has. And to be honest, right, I feel like Manchester United really need to be considering signing him. I feel like we will be considering signing him. He's only 20 million euros is being reported, or pounds, whatever it is. Look, it's a steal for the quality of Sabitzer, who's happy to be a squad rotation type of player. Really is. You'll probably get more money for Scott McTominay from Newcastle, or similar amounts at best. And you already know, if you're telling me who I'm going to be choosing to be starting week in, week out, it's going to be Sabitzer. So I feel like it's good value for money. I feel like we just should bank Sabitzer at the end of the season, continue to have a good preseason in Manchester United, learn Eric Ten Hag's style of football and play, adjust to the team, adjust to the environment, and before you know it, you could have a quality player like Sabitzer for his international team. Is a leader. We've seen what he done at RB Leipzig. This is one of the reasons why we all love our Sabitzer and why we was all happy for him to come. He's a quality signing and a steal for a loan signing. So I feel like we really do need to be considering it. But obviously, Manchester United need reinforcements in that midfield. It all comes down to that midfield. And yeah, De Gea as well, big shout out to him. His distribution was decent in the first half, although we did have a scare where he hit the ball against Ivan Toney, kicked the ball against Ivan Toney. I like the fact that it was able to go long when needed as well. Instead of sticking to the hole, passing it out from the back and inviting pressure. Look, whatever Eric Ten Hag said, it's worked, and we saw differences from the last game to this game. And I feel like when we have that right midfield, that right protection, defenders and everyone else that is comfortable, a midfield that's comfortable receiving the ball from the likes of your David De Gea's, we really need to be assessing, really need to be assessing, like, do we really need to be playing out from the back? I'd rather us just be going for the 50-50 and De Gea just hoofing it into the crowd and going for the 50-50 like that, instead of inviting immediate pressure onto ourselves. So for me, man, I feel like it was an overall professional performance, a tight game. We got the W. We're joint third, even though we're fourth via goal difference, but we're joint third with Newcastle. Look, our next game's against Everton when we're pushing onwards and upwards. And look, Newcastle's got a tough game themselves coming up. You know what I mean? Let me just double check who they've got, because I remember it being a tough game for them. So in actual fact, we can actually, you know, if all goes well and we win, and and Newcastle drop points, then we can end up pipping Newcastle back to our third spot. Do you know what I mean? So let me just double check their fixtures. So the next game again is Brentford away from home. So that was the game, and that's gonna be a tough game for Newcastle. It's gonna be a tough game. I know they're high flying, I know they're in form, but it is really gonna be a tough game for them. So we'll wait and see and keep it pushing. But for me, my man of the match, and people may disagree. Look, honourable shout out to Rashford. He got the goal, 28 goals all season and counting, en route to 30. Honourable shout out to him. Honourable shout out to guys like Delo. I think he played well. Martinez, hell of a game. But I'm going to give it to Scott McTominay, man. It might not be a popular sort of vote, but I'll give it to Scott McTominay, because outside of that rash challenge he had in the first half, I really do feel like he put in his work, especially in the second half, to protect our defense, man. Making vital challenges, vital clamps, like getting back, supporting the defense. And I feel like that was pivotal for us, and things that just kind of go under the radar, man. Kind of go under the radar. And I rate him for that. So he's my man of the match. Oh yeah, Malacia as well, man. Malacia coming on for sure. Got right into the tempo of the game. Quality. And he provides that defensive assurance for me. He really does, more than Shaw. Shaw might be good at progressing the ball forward, but when guys like Malacia and Aaron Wan-Bissaka are playing left and right fullback, I get the assurance, because Malacia's got that fire in him. His recovery is solid. I just got the assurance defensively that he's gonna handle his own, and he did that against Brentford. So he gets an honourable mention as well. But Scott McTominay gets my man of the match. Look, guys, thank you for joining me. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know who your man of the match was. Let me know what your score predictions are against Everton. For me, I'm going with another 1-0. But you let me know what your thoughts are on that match prediction. Let me know what your thoughts are with our top 4 race, man, our top 4 challenge. Do you feel like Manchester United has got what it takes to finish in the top 4, man? Hopefully we've got back Casemiro and Eriksen and Martial starting in that game. So we'll see how it goes. But until next time, peace.